Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to talk about how to raise your vibration according to Dr. David R. Hawkins. The premise behind this idea is that reality can be understood in terms of energy and vibration. This is similar to rising on Hawkins' scale of consciousness, which also works with vibrational frequencies. But here we are not going to focus on specific emotional states, but the process of raising one's vibrations in general, even if we will touch upon some of the stages on the scale of consciousness to show how this plays out in practice. To raise your vibration, you need to, for example, move beyond limiting emotions and beliefs that keep you stuck in cycles of negativity and engage in high vibrational activities and speech. It is a journey of letting go, cultivating awareness, and embracing your true essence. It also requires you to shift your focus away from trying to force external reality to conform to your will, toward how your interactions with external reality is affecting you. If every action carries its own vibration, you will be able to measure your decisions based on this instead, and you must take your own inner state from which you are acting into account. It also brings the power back to you, as you always have the power to change your vibration. There is a whole discussion to be had about whether we are always, in some sense, responsible for our circumstances, but we are not going to go into that here. It suffices to say that, as we are waking up to the fact that reality is not what readily meets the eye, our understanding of the mechanisms governing our interactions with it has to be re-evaluated, and we cannot expect to arrive at the final answers to all questions immediately. With that being said, to begin this journey, you must first become aware of where you are. This awareness is not about self-judgment, but rather about honest observation of your emotional and energetic state. On the scale of consciousness, lower states such as shame, guilt, apathy, and fear represent constricted energies that create a sense of separation from yourself, others, and the world. These states are not inherently bad, they are simply limited, and recognizing their presence is the first step toward growth. As you can see, this immediately takes us out of the realm of morality. Instead, what you do for others from a genuine place is good for you, and the opposite is of course also true. It is also a view free from blame or guilt. From this perspective, as we recognize harmful actions as harmful to ourselves as well, it must necessarily follow that they come from a place of unconsciousness. A conscious person will not harm others willfully and will do his or her best to be a positive force in the world, even though conscious people can still make mistakes and act in careless ways. In this context, it is also worth mentioning that forgiveness will raise your vibration, just like holding on to grudges and resentment will lower it. If you pay attention here, you can see how this is a different way of approaching interactions with other people than what we are used to. It takes us out of the victim-perpetrator narrative. Blame and figuring out whose fault something is are no longer the focus, and we do our best to avoid seeking retribution or punishment. Instead, every person involved is asked to shoulder as much responsibility as possible, not because it's the morally right thing to do, but because this will benefit everyone involved. It's important to recognize that this is not about spiritual bypassing. We may very well need to stop deeply unconscious people from hurting others or themselves, and when we can do something to help, we do so. But we do so while doing our best to come at it from a place of love, where we let go of all the unnecessary emotional baggage that we habitually attach to the destructive human behavior that we observe in the world. This leads us to one of the most powerful tools for raising your vibration. It is the process of letting go. The premise of this practice is that, in reality, our natural state is one of high vibration, which means that as we let go of the baggage we've accrued during this, and perhaps past lifetimes, our vibration will naturally start to rise. This also goes back to the idea of approaching life from a trusting and effortlessly powerful place, rather than from one of distrust, force, and control. Letting go is furthermore a conscious choice to release resistance and allow suppressed emotions to rise and dissipate. It involves fully experiencing your feelings without attaching stories or judgments to them. For example, instead of suppressing anger or denying fear, you acknowledge their presence, feel them fully, and then let them pass. This practice dissolves the energy they hold, freeing you to move into higher states of awareness. This is a very precise practice, and even though you may try different techniques, the basics are the same. It has to be approached from a place of allowing and going with the flow of life, of letting go of the ego's need to control, and instead letting life live itself through you. You must neither resist the energies nor try to force them to go away, but instead approach them from a place of inner stillness, where you allow life to remove them for you. You will know when you get this right, as this is a very distinct and different state from the one we normally live our lives in. However, for a while, often a long time, these blocked emotions will trigger you into getting caught in the mind's habitual struggles, since this is how you've learned to do things throughout your life, and you need to learn to catch yourself when this happens, because you will never be able to force these blockages away. By doing so, you instead hold on to them. The key is to not engage with it, but just allow it to be observed from a neutral state. What you will see, though, is that this, in spite of its inherent effortlessness, is not easy. You will notice how you, in a very subtle manner, start to try and fix the emotions by struggling with them, and it will usually take a while to spot when this is happening. You can also see this as part of the learning process toward approaching life from a more effortless, flowing, conscious state. It's important to recognize fully that you are not your physical body or brain, and that reality is not what it seems on the surface. The more fully you can live this understanding, the more your vibrations will rise. When you notice that a negative emotion has been triggered within you, try to take a step back from it and try to just be as conscious as possible and observe what is happening. Realize that you are neither the emotion nor the reactive thoughts that the emotion has set in motion. If the trigger has caused you to behave in one way or another, either through words or actions, realize that this is not who you are. Confusing this activity for who you are is what is called identification, and it will happen even if you understand the concept, as the pull from it is so strong that it usually makes us go unconscious unless we manage to catch ourselves. As you let go of these lower energies, you naturally move into higher states, such as courage, neutrality, and willingness. Courage is a critical turning point because it represents the shift from destructive to constructive energy. This takes us back to what we were talking about a moment ago, since, at this level, you take responsibility for your actions, choices, and experiences. It is no longer about blaming external circumstances or others for your life. Instead, you recognize your own power to create change. Courage enables you to face challenges with strength and take meaningful steps toward growth. You realize that no matter who did what, it is in your best interest to take responsibility for where you're at. Neutrality and willingness follow naturally from courage. Neutrality brings a sense of calm detachment, allowing you to flow with life rather than resist it. It frees you from the need to control every outcome, creating space for acceptance and flexibility. Willingness, on the other hand, is about openness, being willing to learn, grow, and contribute. This state encourages cooperation, kindness, and the ability to see opportunities, even in adversity. You're reminded that it's important to learn to observe your inner states, as your mind alone, more often than not, will not be good at judging what emotional state you are in at the moment. You will also notice that your actions have a completely different character, depending on which emotional state they are coming from. As your awareness of your inner state increases, it will also become easier and easier to work consciously with it. When you notice that you handle life situations from a compassionate and genuinely constructive and positive state, it's also easier to build more positivity onto this. And conversely, if you find yourself in a low vibrational state, using input that is slightly above your state might be what you need to pick yourself up. Some teachers may advise against this, so therefore, use it with discernment, see what works for you, and leave it alone if it doesn't. But if you find yourself in a state of, for example, grief, apathy, hopelessness, or shame, something with too high a vibration may not work to lift you up. Then, for example, some aggressive music can work to get your energies moving. As you continue upward, you encounter acceptance, reason, and love. Acceptance is the realization that life unfolds as it should, and that resisting reality creates unnecessary suffering. At this level, you begin to see the perfection in life's imperfections. Acceptance fosters forgiveness, both for yourself and others, and allows you to release old grievances and move forward with peace. Reason represents clarity and discernment. This state is not just about intellectual understanding, but also about aligning with truth. Reason helps you distinguish what is real and meaningful from what is illusory or superficial. It aligns your actions and decisions with wisdom and purpose, enabling you to navigate life with greater insight and integrity. To truly understand the significance of this state, you need to become familiar with how much normally clouds our judgment. We have so many distortions such as wishful thinking, the need to feel superior, inferiority complexes, personal experiences that have shaped our thinking, and so on, that several whole videos could be made about it, so we will leave it for now and come back to it another time. But you are encouraged to start thinking more consciously about your own distortions and filters, and there will be a link to a video about reality tunnels as understood by Robert Anton Wilson, which talks in more depth about this at the end screen. Finally, let's talk a bit about love before we leave the scale of consciousness. Love is a transformative state that transcends personal emotions. It is not simply about affection or attachment, but about a deep sense of connection and unity with all life. At this level, your actions and thoughts are guided by compassion, kindness, and a desire to contribute positively to the world. Love dissolves barriers and judgments, creating harmony and a sense of oneness with others. It's advisable to study these states and become familiar with how they are actually playing out in our inner and outer lives, as we are usually only vaguely aware of this. The more knowledge you have about these matters, the easier it will be to see where you are at the moment and know how to handle your inner state in a conscious manner. Practices that support raising your vibration include meditation, mindfulness, and acts of kindness. Meditation quiets the mind and helps you connect with your inner stillness. It allows you to detach from the constant chatter of the ego and align with the present moment. Mindfulness, on the other hand, cultivates awareness of your thoughts, feelings, and actions, enabling you to make the conscious choices just mentioned that reflect higher states of being. Acts of kindness amplify positive energy and reinforce a mindset of abundance and interconnectedness. Gratitude is another powerful practice for raising your vibration. When you focus on what you are grateful for, you shift your attention from lack to abundance. This shift in perspective creates a ripple effect, attracting more positive experiences into your life. Gratitude also strengthens your connection to others and fosters a sense of joy and fulfillment. But be kind to yourself. Don't try to force gratitude when you are in a lower vibration and truly don't feel grateful. You may still think and write about things that you are grateful for, and maybe it will lift you up, but don't worry if the feeling doesn't show up. Next, truth is a cornerstone of raising your vibration. Living with integrity and authenticity aligns your energy with higher levels of consciousness. This means being honest with yourself and others, letting go of falsehoods and manipulations, and acting in alignment with your values. Truth creates harmony and clarity, allowing you to build meaningful relationships and make decisions that reflect your highest self. Challenges and setbacks are inevitable on this journey, but they are not obstacles. They are opportunities for growth. Difficulties often reveal the areas where you are still holding on to resistance or attachment. By approaching these challenges with humility and curiosity, you can use them as stepping stones to higher awareness. Each time you face a challenge with courage and a willingness to learn, you strengthen your capacity to align with higher states of consciousness. It's also important to recognize that you have a vibrational set point. This refers to the dominant level of consciousness or energy that you consistently operate from. It will be reflected in the kinds of inner states and outer behaviors that dominate your day-to-day experiences and interactions with the world. Why is this important to keep in mind? Because even people with a high vibrational set point may, from time to time, be pulled down into lower vibrations. If we then confuse this with permanent states, which is easy to do, as negative emotions have a tendency to feel like they are going to last forever, we will cling on to the negative state, feeding it with our thoughts, and we will thus be stuck there much longer than we have to be. You are again reminded of the importance of paying attention to what is going on in your inner life, so you catch yourself when you've fallen into mental loops or unconscious negative activity. It is important to remember that progress on the path of raising your vibration is not linear. There will be moments of clarity and growth, as well as moments of doubt and difficulty. This is part of the process and should be embraced rather than resisted. Trust that every experience, no matter how challenging, is contributing to your evolution. Patience and persistence are key, as each step forward brings you closer to a life of greater freedom, joy, and peace. In summary, raising your vibration is about releasing lower energies and aligning with higher states of consciousness. This journey requires self-awareness, letting go of resistance, and embracing practices that support growth and harmony. It is a process of moving from fear and separation to love and unity, guided by truth and grace. While challenges may arise, each step forward transforms your experience of life and contributes to the collective awakening of consciousness. By consistently choosing higher thoughts, emotions, and actions, you create a life that reflects your highest potential and inspires others to do the same. You are reminded that this is a process of letting go and allowing, as well as bringing more consciousness into the present moment. It is a process of having faith in the higher order of life, even in difficult situations. Remember that the struggles, pains, and fears that you are facing are part of a journey toward a more effortless state of faith and acceptance. As you shed old baggage and start to experience more and more of the high vibrational being that you truly are, you will notice that life starts opening up to you. The difficulties that are still present don't bother you so much anymore, and you start to naturally gravitate toward the best, most joyful paths in line with what feels most authentic to you. Finally, this is part of a radical shift in consciousness, where we are gradually learning that the narrow ways that we've been taught to interact with our experiences are far from the only ones available. In this context, what we are learning is to take responsibility for everything in our experience, whether we deem it our fault or not, and that our quote-unquote bad behavior stems not from us being intrinsically bad, but from suppressed emotional energy, unconsciousness, and faulty patterns of thought and behavior, which have been instilled in us without us being aware of it. This, and many other, more high vibrational ways of interacting with life, have been hidden in plain sight all along. We've just been conditioned not to see them. You've now reached the end of the video. Remember to like and subscribe. Thank you for your time.